Well, good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and you are welcome once again to the NDC headquarters. I want to thank you for your smart and prompt attendance to this event at following a very short notice. Ladies and gentlemen, I have monitored closely the debate raging on various media platforms about the arrest and incarceration of a drug baroness, Nayele Ametefe. A careful analysis of the statements, particularly from the New Patriotic Party leadership and their pliable members of the press, can leave no one in doubt about desperate attempts by the party to silence the NDC critics of MPP's complicity in the cocaine menace, thereby weakening our resolve to fight the drug trade. Let us review the chronology of MPP's false claims since the arrest and incarceration of Nayele. The first desperate move by the New Patriotic Party was to post the picture of a known NDC member who played a critical role in the 2012 campaign of President Mahama on the internet, wrongly labeling her as the lady who had been arrested with cocaine in London. Ms. Ruby Adujemfi of NDC swiftly responded with a press conference and threatened to go to court over the mistaken identity. The next desperate move of the MPP was to claim that Nayele traveled from Ghana with a diplomatic passport. Again, this was swiftly exposed by the production of records from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs that the lady could not have been in possession of a diplomatic passport. It eventually turned out that the passport the lady had was an ordinary passport which could be acquired by every Ghanaian. The next desperate claim was that Nayele traveled through the VVIP and her access to the facility was aided by a call from a big man above, instructing the staff of the VVIP to comply. The big man was interpreted to be His Excellency President Mahama. Again, when the facts were unearthed, it turned out that Nayele used the VIP instead of the alleged VVIP through which the president travels, and the big man in question was identified and arrested. He is now in court and does not have any affiliation with either His Excellency the President or the National Democratic Congress. Perhaps the most disingenuous fabrication was the one that tried to link the Ghana mission staff, which had gone to the Heathrow Airport in London to pick a high-powered delegation from Ghana, to this scandal. The story was craftily woven that after the facilitation of the departure of the drug baroness from Kotoka by government, a diplomatic arrangement was made to facilitate her exit from the Heathrow Airport to escape arrest, hence the presence of the staff and vehicles of the Ghana mission at the VIP in Heathrow Airport at the time of her arrest. Again, this was exposed as a lie. Another futile attempt was made to misrepresent the intention of the Ghana mission staff, who were subsequently sent by the High Commissioner to inquire about the fact about the arrest of a Ghanaian in connection with drugs at Heathrow, as an attempt to defend her and secure her release. To the MPP, the visit of the staff of the Ghana mission to a suspected drug baroness was conclusive proof that the government of Ghana was condoning the drug trade. Again, when the attention of the nation was drawn to the brilliant exposition of Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, then Minister of Foreign Affairs and NEPAD, about the right of Ghanaian citizens, including suspected drug barons, to consular services as carried by Ghanaian Times of 16th May 2006, the MPP quickly capitulated. Ladies and gentlemen, you agree with me that any rational group faced with these 5 major false moves on the same subject would have given up their plot as a failed one. To MPP, however, since the consequences of the failure to paint NDC as equally involved in the drug trade is too dire to contemplate, they will still press ahead. The latest straw that the drowning MPP is now trying to cling on is the content of Nayele's plea for clemency. The drug baroness is alleged to have claimed in her plea that she was introduced to the drug business by top politicians after her marriage broke up in 2004 and has since followed the top politicians to date. The MPP conveniently ignoring the fact that those who must have been the top politicians in 2004 who introduced the lady to the drug trade chose by some strange logic to imply that since the NDC is in government now, her reference to top politicians applies to us. Ladies and gentlemen, even though Nayele is in the cooler now and cannot be reached for further questioning, can't we, ordinary people who are not trained criminologists, deduce something from these desperate moves of the MPP, juxtapose this against their previous conduct, both in and outside government, and draw reasonable conclusions? Take, for instance, that 3 prominent members of the MPP Women's Wing of Jowulu were arrested with cocaine when President Kufuor was in power, with Nana Addo as the Attorney General. These women were assisted to acquire visas to quickly leave the country, and the dockets on their cases have since vanished from official records. Then came the arrest of the MPP MP for Nkranza North, Erica Martin, in the USA for dealing in narcotic drugs. The initial attempt of the MPP was to project the crime onto NDC, as was done in the case of Ruby. You remember the MPP MP for Asikuma Odobin Brakwa was the first to comment on this arrest when the name of the MP involved had not been published. And he did indicate that he was sure it is going to be an NDC MP. It turned out that the person involved actually was NPP MP. When that failed, MPP demonstrated 100% tolerance for cocaine business by using state resources to pay Eric Amwatin his salary as a member of parliament for 6 months before his seat was declared vacant. During the campaign in the subsequent by-elections, President Kufuor, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, and indeed all the MPP gurus openly endorsed the conduct of Eric Amwatin in the cocaine business by praising him for paying the school fees and providing other support for his constituents from the proceeds of the cocaine trade, and asking the people of Nkranza North to vindicate him by voting for the MPP candidate, Major Derek Odro. Indeed, the constituents listened to them and actually elected the MPP MP. Even though Amwatin was known to have passed through the VIP at Kotoka International Airport on his way to the USA, when he was arrested, no attempt was made to question the staff or anybody in Ghana who must have facilitated his use of the facility for illegal purposes. 10 years after the event, MPP, in their unrepentant mood, organized its members to give Amoatin a hero's welcome at the Kotoka International Airport after he had served his jail term. As if this is not enough proof of MPP's official complicity in the drug business, a shipload of 77 parcels of cocaine vanished in Ghana under the watch of the MPP and has since not been found to date. Add the above to the MPP's deconfiscation of properties of convicted drug barons lawfully confiscated by the previous NDC government, and the attempt by the MPP government to pass a law allowing for the transfer of convicted drug barons to serve their prison terms in Ghana, and the WikiLeaks revelations linking their flag bearer Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo to drug use, and the story of MPP's 100% tolerance for the cocaine trade will be complete and absolute. Ladies and gentlemen, I cannot conclude this statement without referring to the actions of NDC both inside and outside government, which demonstrate zero tolerance for the drug business. One, it must be noted that all the very punitive laws against narcotics were passed when NDC was in power. This can be cross-checked by any interested person. Two, NDC in government implemented these laws zealously by confiscated properties of all convicted drug barons. In fact, steps are already underway by NACOP to identify for confiscation all the property of Nayele acquired through the drug trade. It is interesting that you hear voices from MPP condemning NACOP's trip to the house of the mother of Nayele to try and begin the confiscation process. You ask yourself, why? No high-level NDC member has ever been implicated in this illicit trade. 4, no evidence of any official complicity of NDC in the drug trade. In all the Nayele's drama, what the MPP has succeeded in doing is to divert attention of the possibility of their own involvement in the scandal. In fulfillment of their known strategy of the best way to defend is to attack, they have succeeded in pushing the NDC to the defense, and we have thus failed to ask the most critical questions. Ladies and gentlemen, if I were an investigator in this case, I would be curious to find out whether, in the light of Nayele's claim that he has been following top politicians around, her trip to the US was purely coincidental to the movement of the top gurus of MPP for a fundraising event in London within this same period. In fact, within 24 hours. 2, I would investigate further how Nayele was going to repatriate the proceeds of her business if she had succeeded. 3, I would want to satisfy myself whether the proceeds could not be laundered under the cover of a legitimate fundraising event. Then I would want to find out how much was raised by the MPP during the event after Nayele's arrest, and whether they met their proposed targets for the fundraising. Luckily, I'm not an investigator, so I'll keep my little mouth shut, at least for the time being. May God bless our homeland, Ghana. Thank you very much.